Tripura Nongïalam jong Nongsaiñ Hima.
Kublai people kibapet yakani ke YouTube jong Nongsaiñ Hima. Nidon hang ne ha Tripura kasel kepada kayeng jong Syiem nang the na po jela Tripura. Hakani kayeng usa Khun Syiem bat kakerteng jong ni Khun Syiem kadai pradut Deep Barman. Mentang in wanra yakani khubor sepang jong ni Khun Syiem bat kadau kaba ngihap Jingïakren bat u kadai namar dangsian une ulayalam yakapwei kaseng san pertai hangtei hajela Tripura bat kani kaseng kalayo yaka jingjob hake election district council kabala penbena dang hakini kendiat sngi kipala dep mentang in yo Jingïakren bat u hakanu kurkom une bayalam yaka parti thamai hangtei hapo Tripura kamtam hadin bola mi no nakaseng kongres bat ulala ban wanra yakani ka parti ka ba uyalam syaka jingjob hakaba menta stangkatu kat nisngi un sabam smai ban yalam yak jing sensyar hangtei hapo district council kebadan hajela Tripura uni Khun Syiem ulayalam yakni ka seng sain pertai ka bakerteng ka Tripura Indigenous Progressive Regional Alliance but kani ka seng menta kala la ban yakun persya ya kawai ka seng ka barat ba hangtei po Tripura kata kadai BJP bat kawai pat kadai Communist Party menta siasya bat ngi ban Nongïalam bat une Khun Syiem bat nidon hakani ka yeng ka ba une ula juhe jusan hangne hanong ba slong hakani ka jaka ka ba naduk ki por jong kupa jong u kiladon hangne tongin ya pet yakani khubor menta bat yang in ya rung sani sepo banyo Jingïakren bat u. Thank you Maharaj for your time, for giving us this time. So we would like to congratulate you first for having won the recent election in your state Tripura. So first of all, can you tell us like how you came into politics, because all these years all this while we have been many have been knowing you that you are in the royal family.
No, politics was always there in my family. My father was a 3-time member of parliament. My mother was a minister in the state. She also went on to becoming a member of parliament. I myself joined a national party called Congress. I was All India Youth Congress. Then I became state general secretary, then working president. Then I went on to becoming All India AICC secretary in Delhi. Then I came back to the state and I became the president. So politics is always there. But you see, somehow over the period of time, I got tired trying to make Delhi understand our point of view. There's one thing, trying to make Delhi understand what is a genuine concern. There's another thing, if they're even concerned in the first place. So I think whenever we as a community speak, we should speak from a position of strength. And when I realized that these leaders who hardly came, who got no knowledge about Northeast, who got no knowledge about our people, our way of life, when they come and they start dictating to us just because they have more numbers in the parliament or their population is larger than us, I thought that it was time that we united, in my state of Tripura at least, and speak in one voice. And that's how I started my Tipra. We've suffered a lot, especially over the last few decades, even more so because we've had no representation. Our leaders, our local indigenous leaders from Tripura have been fighting with each other, are being satisfied by small doles given by leaders from outside, And then when CA happened, I tried my best to make Delhi understand, but they did not. Then I decided that it was time that I left all these people and speak up for our people, because eventually, if there is no people, there is no CM. There is no royalty. I'm not a royal. I'm first a Tipra, sir. I'm first an indigenous person from the northeast. So if the people are not there, if we don't have land, who are we living with? Who are we trying to fool? So I decided that this is time that we went back, and I went back and I worked hard. I started from scratch, and today, the results show for itself.
You can tell us the mantra behind, because we have the BJP which is ruling the state of Tripura, and then in the uttermost district council of Tripura, the left has been ruling just before the recent elections. So what was the reason behind, or the mantra behind, that led your party into victory?
You see, unity. There's a Tripuri word called Thansa, and unity. That means unity, and we did that. We went and we fought on the basis that when CA was passed, did they listen to us, BJP or the communists? Did Manik Sarkar, which communist party which was protesting across India in Tripura, was silent? The Congress party was silent in Tripura and CA because they wanted to protect the votes. The BJP had their agenda. When a Tiprasa does not get entry into Agartala to sell his vegetables, do we think we are BJP, CPM, Congress? When a person gets beaten up for being a Bukungbara means, like a flat a mongoloid, do we look at his party affiliation? No. We get identified and we get picked on. So I said, why are you dividing yourself on party lines? So we came up with a line called Puila Jati, Ulo Party. And then Puila Jati, Ulobo Jati means first the people and then the party. So let's first think as individuals, as a community. And that resonated. And then most importantly, I've grown up in Shillong. I'm very grateful to Shillong. I feel that when I went back, I saw a lot of my people were scared to fight back. There was a sense of fear. I grew up in Shillong in the 90s. I grew up in the time when I saw the HNLC movement, I saw the KSU movement, and I saw an assertion, while I don't agree with violence, I did see an assertion that how the Khasis were reclaiming their point of view, their positions. The Jat Bin Ryu concept is what I took back to Tripura. So I'm very grateful in a certain way, because Shillong taught me how to fight back. Shillong also taught me how not to worry about administration if your people are together. So I remember I was also highly inspired by like Bibi Lingdo. I remember sitting and talking to him. I remember talking to John Deng Porman. I remember who was a part of the APHLC movement. Then of course I had friends in the KSU, Danny Kriem, Paul Lingdo. We had some friends who had crossed over, but whatever, they were friends. Mao Lenai. So we grew up in a different world. I didn't grow up playing polo or as some lawyer. I grew up in Shillong. So I think that helped me, because when I went back, I connected as an indigenous person with my people. And I think the most important thing is self-belief. Nobody thought that BJP could be defeated. Nobody thought that the Communist Party, which has a very strong leader under Manik Sarkar, can be defeated. Nobody thought that the Congress could become irrelevant. And yet, indigenous party within 2 months goes and fights. And our team has, I think 90% of our team are people below the age of 35. Some are even 29, 30. None of them, barring 1 or 2, me included, have any political background. Otherwise, all of them are fresh. Their uncles, their fathers, none of their family members are politicians. And we went and we fought. This is maybe similar to what happened maybe in Assam. Now, I think the most important thing is that belief which people voted for us, And I don't call ourselves a political party, we call ourselves a movement. We are fighting for a greater Tipra land concept, where every indigenous person, whether they are in the ADC or outside, should be included in our concept of greater Tipra land. And we will not rest till we don't get our greater Tipra land. So ours is a movement. Ours is not a struggle which will where we will remain MLAs for 20 years, 25 years, but have no solution to our problems. We want a solution, a final settlement by the government of India to our problems. So that is what Tipra is all about.
The BJP, which is the ruling party, came far second with only 9 seats, even though in the last election they was 0. But then, don't you think that this is a headache for the ruling BJP after your party came to power now in the tribal district council?
No, it's not a headache. I think they should just realize that out of the 9 seats, they won in 3 general seats. So they should realize that we are not a headache. We have taken the burden of people who have come from another country, namely Bangladesh, and we have become 30%. So we have suffered. Now I want the BJP or whoever is in the center today or tomorrow to look at the plight of the indigenous people. We are fighting for our existence. They are fighting for a political victory. We are fighting to survive. There will be delimitation again. At one time we were 90%, today we are down to 30%. So we have to do what we have to do to protect ourselves and to come out with an idea of solution. So if BJP or Congress or any national party would like this headache to go away, they should sit with us and bring in a solution to our problems. I'm not interested in talking to BJP about me getting PW minister, a home minister or an MP portfolio. We don't want all that. We want to go back to our people and say this is what we've got from center, and the center created this problem for the indigenous people of Tripura, and it's the center's job now to bring in a solution to our problems.
You were in the Congress for a very long time, and after moving out of the Congress, now you have been able to establish yourself, even though you have established in the past. Do you think that it is a blessing in disguise or coming out of the Congress?
It is. I'll tell you something. So like, now when I have to speak, let's say on NRC, my case is there. In the Congress, you could not speak out openly. We want a local language to be in Roman script. If you're in the BJP, they will have a problem with that. We want inner line permit in a national party. You cannot directly say it. We want to celebrate our local festivals, but if you are in the BJP, then you have to have you cannot celebrate those festivals. So the fact is that once you are regional, then you can speak more for your people. In a national party, I think there are too many diktats from New Delhi on how to behave. So this is not only for me, I think even for the people in Meghalaya, maybe Meghalaya is slightly less, but in Assam, Manipur, they have the same problem. And I think it was a blessing in disguise, because when I protested against CAA, the Congress told me not to protest. I said, how can we be protesting, the Congress party in Meghalaya against CAA, in Assam against CAA, in Arunachal, in Punjab, in Delhi, in Maharashtra, but in Tripura they are telling me, my general secretary was telling me, do not protest against CAA because it will hurt another section of voters. Now I did not join the Congress party to make somebody else happy and my community suffer. So if this was the hypocrisy I was going to live with, then goodbye, good luck to them. Today the Congress party in this election got less votes than Nota, and the former Congress president, which is me, has come and formed the government. So the Congress party should figure out, do they love the people of Tripura, the indigenous people first, or do they prefer to have people from Bangladesh coming in and settling down?
The mandate has been given to you and your party. What are the plans in store now that you're going to take forward for your state and the tribal?
First of all, our customary laws have to be codified. and we are going to make sure that all our customary laws, 19 tribes, that also includes the Khasis, the Garos, will also be brought in under the customary law and be codified. Because till the time we do not give the strength back to our villages, to our traditional setups, we will have a problem. We want to bring in proper English education in our schools. Our children cannot be growing up learning Bengali while the ministers sending the children to English medium school. So we want compulsory English education starting from the primary level. Our people have suffered by learning Bengali. With all due respect, it's a beautiful language. If we want jobs tomorrow, we will need to be proficient in the English language. That's one of the reasons why Meghalaya is ahead from even other states like Assam in certain sectors like tourism and hospitality, like information technology as well. So that is another area. Health and water are two very big problems. We want to ensure that there is linkages between the Jal Jeevan mission which the Prime Minister has announced and in the village. And finally, we would also like to ensure that our students who are studying outside are also looked after well, because eventually if they succeed and come back, they'll become role models for our people in the villages and in the smaller towns. So we want to work with full accountability, and how much money comes in, how much money is spent on salary, on roads, on electricity, we will put it up in the website so the people know that this much money is coming, this much money is being spent in this department for salaries, for development, so that people know where the money is going and where it's coming from, because this eventually is the people's money. We want a full accountable government which has zero tolerance for corruption and works for the indigenous people and also other communities which are living in the EDC areas.
You have set out priorities as far as development is concerned, but then your main concern is the identity of the...
See, a lot of people say this, BJP keeps on saying, oh, let's talk development. Of course we are talking development, but our core ideology is Greater Tipra land. Now, BJP's core ideology was Ram Mandir. So, if BJP can stick to their core ideology for 20 years, that does not mean that they were not talking about toilets or roads or connectivity, but their core ideology was Ram Mandir. So if we have a core ideology of Greater Tipra land, then if they have a problem, well, they had their own ideology. How can we go away from our core ideology? Our core ideology is this is the land of the indigenous people, and injustice has happened to us, and we want now clear, defined boundaries of our state.
In the past, the government, especially the central government, has been putting delaying tactics as far as the demands of the tribal people are concerned, including the inner line permit and other laws that are going to, which the people believe that they are going to protect the interests of the tribal people. As far as your Tripura state is concerned and the tribal area is concerned, what are the, as per your finding, like what kind of laws that are going to protect the interests of the people?
See, I'll tell you, I'll give you an example. Inner line permit. Meghalaya has been demanding inner line permit, but they haven't given it to Meghalaya. They gave it to Manipur one day before they passed CA in the parliament. So what was the logic of them giving it to Manipur? Manipur has no boundary with Bangladesh, but you gave them inner line permit. And Meghalaya, which has a huge boundary, Tripura, which has a boundary, Assam, which has a boundary, were exempted. Why? Aren't they playing into vote bank politics? What is this delaying tactic? The delaying tactic is because our leaders have become weak when we go to Delhi. And our defining of our boundaries is not based on inner line permit. We are asking for a Greater Tipra land, where the indigenous people are protected. CA was passed. Tripura, when the 1940 famine took place in Bengal, allowed people to walk in. When the partition of India happened in 1947 and the riots ensued, Tripura allowed people to walk in. When the Bangladesh war took place, Tripura allowed the people to walk in. Today, we are again told under CA to allow people to walk in. We have taken in 3 times our own population, and we are told to do it again. while states which have not taken one person are told that they are exempted. Why? That's because our leadership was weak. And I'm admitting it. I'm admitting it. And with my parents being in that administration, we were weak. It will not happen anymore. Not under my nose. Not under our new generation. And when you're talking about inner line permit, what was the logic of giving it to Manipur and not to Meghalaya and Tripura? What was the logic? If the logic was wrong, if the logic is here, then why not for Manipur? Why? So these are things we have to also think. These are, and finally, I see when I come to Shillong now, I see when we say that to fight back, it does not mean that you beat up a poor chanawala or a small student who is not indigenous, who is not a Khasi or a Hinyotrep. When you fight for your rights, we can fight for our rights while also ensuring the rights of the others. But when we speak for our rights, we are called communal. And when they do it without consulting us, then it's called integration of India. Is integration of India only through pushing in population to other areas? So these are things that the government of India has to understand. And who knows more about the pain of being a good host than Tripura? We've been such good hosts that now we are living in servants' quarters and our main house is occupied. So this is a lesson for all of us in the Northeast. Finally, at least, I grew up, all my friends in Shillong would say, oh, we don't want to become another Tripura. But today I can tell all my friends in Meghalaya that maybe you can learn something from us. We may be 30%, but because we had unity and we had singular leadership, we fought. And today we have beaten the mighty BJP, which is the biggest party in the world, or the oldest party in India, Congress, or CPM, which was in rule for 25 years, because we were united. So maybe we can learn something from Tripura as well.
You talk about unity, but then the government time and again used to implement this policy, that is the divide and rule policy. And we have the tribal district councils, be it Meghalaya or Tripura, which doesn't have the anti-defection law. How will you manage?
Let them buy all my MDCs. They will still have Pradyut Manike as a single opposition person fighting with them and defeating them in 2023. Let them do it. Let them do it. Because the people voted for an individual. They voted for an idea. They didn't vote for people who came in and were trying to placate the center. Let them do it. And the point when you're saying that district councils, I absolutely think that we should have a anti-defection law. But let's also self-introspect. Look at our own leaders. When somebody leaves UDP and joins HSPDP, or someone joins PDM, somebody joins KNAM, somebody goes to APCLC, I remember HPU used to be there. Who's going? Is it not a Khasi who's going and joining another party? Is it not a Panar? Is it not a Garo? So when we say that divide and rule who? We are getting divided. Our leaders are getting divided. For what? That's why I said that let Delhi call me. I'm not going to talk about a post of a chief minister or an MP or a PWD minister or a financial gain. We are talking about our people and someone like us who are inspired by the ABHLC movement. Can you imagine if Captain William Sangma or BB Lingdo, or for that matter John Ding Porman, had settled for a plum post to remain in Assam? Would he have ever got Meghalaya? No. They fought for the Jadbindru. They fought for their community. So today we are doing the same thing. The problem lies when our leaders talk big, but when they go to Delhi, they settle for small financial favors or positions.
Coming back to the results that have been declared recently, and your party again has managed to win this election, do we see that your party is going to be the big opponent of the BJP in Tripura in the 2023 assembly elections?
I'm not fighting anyone. I'm not fighting BJP. I'm not fighting Congress. I'm not fighting CPM. I'm saying we want greater Tipra land. If the government of India, whoever it is, agrees to a demand, we are happy. But if they don't listen to us, we are not going to compromise. So we are going to talk to them in our terms. And we are making it very clear. Like the Prime Minister resolved the brew issue, the Riang issue, which I was a part of. Come and solve the problem of the indigenous people of Tripura. Whoever the government is, at least they can then go back to all of Northeast and say that Tripura, which was a tribal state which has suffered so badly, we have solved the problem. We are here to solve everyone's problem. They can use Tripura as an example and go across Northeast and say that we have ended the plight of the Tiprasa people who are fighting for their existence for 70 years. We have stopped it. They can use it. But the problem is that for far too long we have discussed our problems in Agartala, in Guwahati. We want the Prime Minister of India to pay attention to our problems, and we want the Prime Minister, who's supposed to be the guardian to all of us in a democracy, to listen to our problems and solve our problem. So I'm not against BJP, I'm not against Congress. I have very good relationship with Rahul Gandhi. I am not against the communist. I think Manik Sarkar, I can talk to him. If tomorrow AIADMK comes, Mamta comes, Aam Aadmi Party comes, if Conrad Sangma comes to power, I have no problem. Whoever is willing to support us in our fight for our existence, for our survival, we will talk to them. Our enemy is no one. Our goal is to survive before the 2025 delimitation, so that we can carve out a future for our next generation.
States in the Northeast almost have similar issues when it comes to identity and protecting the interests of the people. You talk about the interests of the tribal people in your state. Will you take the lead in calling all the, let's say, regional political parties or any organization to come together and fight for this issue?
See, first of all, I'm too small right now. I've just won an election in Tripura. I want to deliver for my people. But I'm not averse to, I've got friends across all political parties. I grew up in Shillong. So many of my friends are today in the ministry or are in the opposition in Meghalaya. I have friends in Arunachal Pradesh, and I have friends in Nagaland, in Manipur. So why we should get together and we should create a space which does not necessarily take the line of BJP or Congress, which takes the line of the indigenous people of the Northeast, and which is also not communal and discriminatory towards other communities, other religions. We want to live in peace, and what we want is that this suspicion which has been created, that has to go away, and that can only go away if all of us speak in one voice, because our problems are the same, our lack of opportunities are the same. When we go outside to Delhi or Bangalore or Hyderabad, Calcutta, Mumbai, we are viewed as one. There's a huge level of ignorance about us in the mainland. So we should be combining and we should be talking about our problems in a singular platform. Of course, there may be certain places where there may not be uniformity, but we can at least, if we can have a common minimum program and get into an alliance with Congress or with BJP, then why can't regional parties also have a common minimum program and speak in one voice in Delhi? And we should not be going to Delhi to negotiate for our personal gains or posts. We should be going there to speak from a position of strength. That is my hope, and that's what I would like to do. But then charity begins at home, and let me first do this in my own state.
You have grown up in Shillong, in Meghalaya, and you must have known all these district councils that we have in the state of Meghalaya. How different the district council in Tripura and Meghalaya?
No, I think Tripura District Council is much more bigger. Our budget is almost 4 to 5 times bigger than Meghalaya, combined, all of them. We also have a lot more cohesion and infrastructure. We are probably, after BTC, the biggest district council in the entire Northeast. And also because of the demographics, whoever wins the district council, generally the district council election is called the semi-finals before the assembly election. So it's very different. And the only fact that people should know is that the district councils have almost every time been won by national parties. This is the first time a regional party has taken on a government which is in the state and in the center and defeated them. So that's why it has huge significance, and also fought on a platform of anti-CAA. So that becomes very significant for all the other regional outfits in the Northeast.
But do you think it is still a challenge for you to lead the party, especially when, as you have mentioned, the BJP, which is the biggest party, political party, one of the biggest
in the world. In fact, they claim to be the biggest political party in the world.
You are going to fight against them.
That's why I don't attack them. In my entire election, I never attacked Narendra Modi. I never attacked Rahul Gandhi. I never attacked Manik Sarkar. I just told our people what is it that we want for our people. And we led a positive campaign. They, on the other hand, went personal, started attacking my family, started beating up our people. The BJP called me the communist agent. The communists called me an agent of RSS. Eventually, both of them combined have got less than 50% of the votes we got. So the answer lies there.
The fighting spirit that you have, do we see you the next Chief Minister of Tripura in the upcoming elections?
No. You see me as a person who will possibly try to get you a greater Tipra land. I think I'm inspired by the APHLC struggle. If tomorrow, if I go back and if Captain William Sangma or Bibi Lingdo had settled to becoming the Chief Minister of Assam and given up on the hopes of a creation of Meghalaya, they wouldn't be remembered today. So I would also like to be remembered as a person who fought and carved out an identity for our people. So I think that is my ultimate. That's why I said we are a movement, we are not a political party. Our movement should be inspired by the sacrifices given by our forefathers and the stalwarts of the region.
So finally, what is a message for the people of Meghalaya and your state Tripura?
For Meghalaya, I have a message in the sense I'm very grateful to what I learned in Shillong. I've seen a lot of people do not give Shillong its due credit. I grew up in Shillong. Most of my friends are from Shillong. Whether it was Paul, Danny, Maul and I, a lot of friends. I knew RJ Lingdo, we knew Bapita, I saw Bibi Lingdo, I knew late Purno Sangma, Conrad I know. So we've got a lot of friends in Shillong. But one thing Shillong taught me was that you may be a son of a king, but keep your humility to yourself. So when I grew up, all my friends were, whether they were from Wathabru or from Kolapati or Maulai or Laimkra, Sasun. So we grew up, we walked the streets of Shillong, we listened to, we grew up as musicians, and I think at some point it rubbed off in me that we could take on the high and mighty if we could instill confidence. So Shillong gave me confidence. I think if I had grown up studying in abroad, UK or maybe in Doon School or Mayo or America and come back to Tripura, I would have not been successful. Shillong taught me how to be a tribal, and I think I'm very grateful for that. I think Shillong taught me how to be indigenous, and I think in me you have a person who will always stand for the interest of the Jadbindru. So like you say, imslem bri hinyo trep. So we say Tipra sa ayuk lokthong. So these things are there in me, and I'm sure one day we will all get together and speak collectively, because again, as I said, Tripura and Meghalaya have a huge boundary with Bangladesh, and our population is very small. I also was highly inspired by leaders from Meghalaya, Bastanil Nichols Roy. I remember Bibi Lingdo, remember meeting him many occasions. Very intelligent man, hopping stone. Captain William Sangma, who was a family friend. These were people, Bajonding Porman. These were people who did not compromise, and who actually fought for the idea of Meghalaya, what we see today. So today when BJP talks to us or Congress talks to us and says that we will give you a good cabinet berth, or we'll give you a good ministry, or we will make you an MP, that's not what I want. What we want is exactly along what the APHLC stood for. I'm also actually, you may not know, but there are a lot of Khasis and Garos in Tripura, and they are registered tribes. They are one of the registered tribes. And because I grew up in Shillong, I actually understand how it feels to be a minority tribe in another part of the state, another part of the region. So they've come out and hugely supported us. The Khasis, the Panars, and the Garos have really supported us. In fact, I feel that in my idea of Greater Tipra, if you go to the Hailakandi, Patarkandi site, there are so many Khasis there in Assam. Mostly a lot of War Jaintiyas. They are also not recognized as tribes. Look at the condition. So we have to work to ensure that even these voices are heard. So I've learned a lot from Meghalaya. Maybe you all may not be aware, or maybe I have not articulated it well. I remember mid-90s. I remember being highly influenced. I had a friend called Maulanai from Wangdo, and he bought me a book. And people may say many things against that individual, but I was very inspired by Wycliffe Syiem, and I was inspired by him, and I am. But not everything what he did may be right or wrong, but at least he fought and he stood and he had a spine. He had a conviction. And what we need today more from our leaders is conviction, spine, and integrity. If we go and compromise every time, the people, the masses will lose faith in us, and that's what I see happening across the region. That's why maybe our victory, where a party which is a minority in its own state got together and took on the mighty and still won, becomes an inspiration for other regional people across the Northeast.
Many a times speakers, panelists, writers used to refer Tripura when they talk about the identity of the indigenous people. Do we see that with you in the helm of affairs, the ethnic community in the state of Tripura will really feel safe and protected?
I hope so. I mean, I don't have to be on top. I mean, as I said, your separate state struggle. There's a gentleman by the name Modi Marak. Modi Nagar is named after him. Nobody may remember him today, but they remember that there was he was one of the leaders who fought for a separate existence, right? So with me, it is not important that it should be under my helm of affairs. It could be in the helm of affairs of any indigenous Tiprasa. But the fact is that the power has to be in the hand of the indigenous person. It is not a struggle to make me a chief minister or a leader. It is a struggle to make an indigenous person from our communities, not one, to be at the helm of affairs. The message has to be deeper, stronger than one individual. That's what I'm trying to say.
various pressure groups and organizations in the state of Meghalaya, especially in the Khasi Jaintia region, they used to say that the tribals in Tripura has been reduced drastically and we don't want to be another Tripura. But do you see that it is really like that?
No, it is like that, but now you see that we are fighting back. We've been pushed to a wall and now we cannot go you can't go back anymore. So we are fighting back. And ironically, it is someone who got his education in Shillong who's gone back, who's leading the fight. Maybe that's because we got inspired by what we saw here. We definitely got inspired. The fact is that we are tired becoming an example for the whole of Northeast. Now, politically, we are giving an example to the whole of Northeast that regional parties can win if they do not make deals with national parties which go against the survival and existence of the indigenous people of the region.
Thank you so much, Maharaja, and once again congratulations.
Belai na hambai, khublai shibun.